Who are you listening to? Who are you trusting? Who are you believing when it comes to your potential, when it comes to your work ethic, when it comes to what you deserve? Who are you listening to? One of the biggest things that's going to separate you from being a successful student athlete and not is figuring out who are credible sources to listen to. Are these people just stroking your ego? Are these people just being negative? Are these people just being positive? Like, what, you got to really sit down and say, who am I going to listen to, and whose information am I going to apply to my journey that's going to make me better than what I was beforehand? Because the name of the game is to learn from those that came before you, to not just learn from the people that came before you, because some people are bitter. Some people are still upset about the coach not playing them. Some people are still upset about, I should have went D1, or I should have went to this school, or I should, if I didn't hurt my leg. They're still stuck in negative mindsets. They can't even offer you anything. They think they're trying to help you, but they're not helping you. They're making you more resentful. They're making you more entitled. So you got to be careful about who you listen to. I say all that to say this. This new series will be dedicated to really going over some of the information that's online, the student athletes are listening to, and really just breaking it down, offering a narrative and seeing what you can take from it and what you can't take from it. What of what they're saying is hype and what of it is right. It's going to be 3 people we're going to go over today. If you have some other videos, please send them to me, and I'll go over those as well and offer my narrative. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this.
In the first ever pod we did, you talked about how people don't understand that every NBA team, there's 2, maybe 3, but mostly 2 guys that get to do whatever they want and score, and everyone else is on the court to make the 2 guys better.
You need a Derek White. You need a Drew Holiday.
Right.
You need a Bam Adebayo. Like, you need these guys, all right? Because they can dominate the game in a variety of ways. That's why they're playing. That's why Derek White was on the team over Jaylen Brown. Is Derek White better than Jaylen Brown? No, we know this. Is Derek White going to be a better fit for the USA team than Jaylen Brown? Absolutely.
I love what Austin Rivers is saying on this, because I think it really highlights why it's so important to have both stars and role players. And even though everybody wants to be a star, even though everybody wants to have the gleam, the glitz, the cameras and everything focus on them, none of this can be possible without the doggone role players. Me, myself, I was a role player. Yes, I want to be the person that was a star, but I wasn't. And being mature enough as a student athlete and understanding that you sometimes have to be a role player, and it changes from team to team. Sometimes you're a role player, sometimes you have to be a star player. But understanding that all roles are important, and you will miss out on opportunities playing in college, playing at any team, if you're so fixated on this is the role that I need to play. And I say this on the channel all the time. I'm like, you got to play the role that your team wants you to play and not the role that your ego wants you to play. Role players oftentimes are the glue that makes everything happen. Role players are typically, they're more durable. Role players are typically, they're less, I don't want to stereotype, but just with my playing career, what I found out, and the only reason I'm saying this is for you role players that was like, I don't know, I don't want to be a role player though. Role players are normally the toughest. So, and I say that because a lot of times role players are the ones that get talked to the worst when it comes to their coaches. They're the ones that has to be durable. They're the ones that have to be able to remove their emotions and get the job done. Whereas star players, a lot of times, at least in my experience, again, I don't want anybody to be in their feelings about this, but a lot of times, that's just that, a star player. If you're in your feelings about this, that means you're a star player or a role player in denial. But regardless, it's like you gotta handle them with like kitty gloves, right? Because they're the star player. But there's some pride in being a role player as well. There's some pride in being a star player, but there's a pride in being a role player. And I just want to encourage you, no matter what role that you're playing on the team, the key point of that sentence is you're on the team. So you play a role, okay? So I think that that's important for you to grab on, to accept, and to celebrate. Don't let somebody and what they think of your role decide how good or how great you can be for that particular team. For this video, I want to say he's right. We want to go ahead and give him the stamp of approval. He's right. This is some information you can use as a student athlete because it's going to help you on your journey.
A lot of kids out here, man, people don't want to say it, they soft. They don't want to put in the work no more. You know, anything go wrong, everybody in the transfer portal, it's an easy way out. When we was coming up, bro, it was if you on the bench, get yourself off the bench.
Yeah, work
You ain't had no option. You ain't had no option when I'm leaving, you ain't had no option. This is the school you signed to. You know what I'm saying? You on the bench right now, get yourself off the bench. You know what I'm saying?
Love it,
and you built that character and you built all that.
You know, they're soft if they want to transfer. That you have to get yourself off the bench. This infuriates me. I think you already know how I'm going. I think you already know what I got to say before I say it. If you've been rocking with me on this channel since 2016, you understand that I could not disagree more. This video, and this is one of the reasons why I started this series on this channel is. A student athlete will hear that and then feel guilty. A student athlete will feel shame. A student athlete will feel like they're not being tough enough just because they want to transfer. And that is all nonsense. I'm talking to a student athlete right now. If you're a student athlete, you got to understand that you only have 5 years to play for in more situations than not. You got to make this time count. And you should not let anybody demonize you for being able to have control over your future as being a student athlete. It is silly for you to feel like, oh, I'm not tough enough. To fall into the mindset of I'm not tough enough. That's why I want to transfer. No, you just want to have ownership over what's going on because at the end of the day, guess who is going to be on? You. I always make the example of going to a restaurant and everybody giving you all these recommendations of what you should do. At the end of the day, all those recommendations could be great. You could take them up on their offer and order this because so-and-so said you should order this or order that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, when it's time for you to swipe your card, when it's time for you to sign your signature, when it's time for you to shell out cash, it's going to be you, player. It's not going to be anybody else. So you got to take ownership over this process and don't let anybody shame you. And what makes me even more upset is coaches can leave and no one says anything. People say that's for their family, they have to do what's best for them. No one shames them. But when it comes to student athletes who are considerably younger than them, now it's an issue. And I think it's a great thing for the transfer portal. When I was coming through, we didn't have a transfer portal, and a lot of that stuff was done underhanded. I can tell you this. If you Google my name and you put in Utah, okay, specifically Utah High School Activities Association, there's still documents from when I was going through school, from high school, of a coach that didn't want me to transfer. And my thing is like, much like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, is like, if somebody doesn't want to be with you, you got to be like, okay, this may hurt my feelings, but okay, let me let this person go ahead and do their thing. You don't hold on to somebody if they don't want to be with you. If they don't want to be with you, they don't want to be with you. And the idea that in high school, I experienced a coach. And now, if you know anything about my channel, you know I never shame anyone, so I won't say this person's name. If you want to go and dig and find this person's name, you can go do that. Hopefully you can't find it because that's not the important part. The important part is this, that I had a coach that was double my age minimum, maybe double and a half my age, dictating my future for their own gain. That's selfish. That's what that is. That's called selfish. And I wish I could say, let me hurry up and say this as well. I went through the Utah High School Activity Association 3 times to be able to go play at a different school in high school. So this whole thing that we're going through right now, this transfer portal and people want to transfer, this ain't new. This is new to you. This ain't new. I went through this in high school. Okay. And then I would love to say it stopped there. This happened to me in college. Yes, that's right. I had a coach put us all in a room and said, I don't have to release any of you. So back then, it was like releasing you meant this. You would have to sit out a whole year, or you have to get released by that particular school for going to another school. You have to get released like you're a property. You have to be released. You just couldn't leave. And then there were some things that was different as far as like, if you, like say, cause I almost told you the doggone school. So say if you were at a school, let's say you were at a Division II school they can make it where you can't go to another Division II school in that conference, or you can't go to another Division II school, period. Right? You got to go to a different level type situation. So these are things that student athletes are going through, and people are not talking about it. But you can see, some of the old heads that came before them feeling like that. You got to do it the way I wanted you to do it. And you got to understand, those people have to understand it's a new day. It's a new age. It's not about you. Your time is up. Your time is up. Like the people who want to come around here as it relates to basketball, and they want to say, well, the kids need to be outside playing basketball more outside. Just because that's what you did, just because that's what we did, that doesn't mean they have to do the same thing. You got to get with the times. The times aren't going to get with you. So I'm getting off the beaten path. What I'm saying is this is your journey. This is your experience. And I don't want anybody to be able to name call you and make you feel guilty to do what they want you to do. Because at the end of the day, this is going to be your time. So you need to do what's best for you. Now, I will say this. I will say some people use the transfer portal as a Band-Aid, as it's going to be a genie they can just rub and just, get 3 wishes type situation. You got to understand that it's not a Band-Aid, that you got to have tough conversations, not only with yourself, but with the coaches beforehand. And then lastly, you want to make sure you leave that place if you do decide to leave. It's not always the right move to leave. I can't decide that for you. But you want to leave the place better than you found it. It's not always the best time the best thing to leave, but you got to understand that it's going to be on you. And you got to take that ownership. And you want to ask yourself questions that are going to be intentional about reflecting on what happened so it can't happen again. Okay? You got to understand that when you jump into the transfer portal, if you have a bad reputation, that bad reputation is coming with you. Coaches, it's a small fraternity, small sorority. They talk to each other. Okay. The last thing I want you to do is feel like you just jump in a transfer portal and all your worries are aside. And you need to be really mature about this whole process, because as it relates to academics, you need to make sure they transfer. And you got to really look at the pain points that didn't work well with you at that particular university. And you want to make sure that it doesn't happen again at another university. I'm getting off the beaten path again. You can tell I can talk all day about this, but I just care about student athletes more so than my ego, more so than I want it to be done like me or anything like that. I want you to do what's best for you, because this time goes by fast. You don't believe it now, but it goes by fast. This guy, he's wrong. He's wrong. It's just hype, okay? It's just hype. It's wrong. Discard this information, never to be seen again. Delete it from your memory.
I promise you this, most athletes are not prepared for the end. You don't know when that coming, and the hardest thing to do is transition to real life. What does that look like for you? What if you're not prepared? All of a sudden that ends like a snap of a finger. It's over and done with. What is it that you do? I had 2 damn degrees from Purdue and still didn't know what the it is that I wanted to do, because it just ended just like that. I had to figure out how to pivot. That was the hardest of all time.
No words have ever been uttered more true than what he just said. I said this beforehand, but you really got to have a sense of ownership over your process. When I think about being a student athlete in college in particular, I think about being on one of those movable walkways that they have at the airport, where you just stand on the platform and it just moves you down the hall. You don't need to take any steps. It just kind of moves you down the hall. That's how being a student athlete can feel at times, because there's so many mechanisms built in the process of being a student athlete that it just kind of moves you down. It wants to move you down as efficiently as possible. It's like you're a bowling ball and there's bumpers on the side. We're trying to make sure that you stay on the doggone lane and not in the gutter. I said, why, Belford? Why do they do that? We say, why, Bell? Why do they do that? They do that because there's so much money invested in you. Regardless if you're a scholarship athlete or not, there's so much money invested in you. You represent the university. They need to make sure they make good on their investment. So we need to make sure that we have these extra bumpers that keeps you on the right track. And that sounds good in theory, but you oftentimes as a student athlete, you don't get the luxury of being a student. You don't get the luxury of really benefiting from the university from that regard. You are there to make the sport look good, make the university look good, and hopefully you win some games. Everything else is a byproduct of that. Like everything else, hopefully you say, well, I'm a student first. Okay. Take a class that don't align with your practice time, and you see how fast that you're not looked at as a student, right? Being an athlete is your number one thing, and many programs, not all programs, but many programs, you being an athlete is first. Okay. So you have got to figure out how to take ownership over your process. So it's something that you are proud of and not something you just tolerated or you just endured. For individuals that are majoring in wash your hands with soap, something is going to keep you eligible versus feed your family afterwards. You are hurting no one but yourself. This man just said that he has 2 daggone degrees and nothing to show for it. Degrees from a person that has a master's degree themselves. Degrees, let me explain to you what degrees are. Degrees are trendy. Okay? Education is timeless. All right? So if you didn't get any education, but you got some degrees, you lost out. You lost out. Okay? So you want to make sure that, number one, you pick something that's going to help you in a career. Don't fall into this foolishness of like, oh, it's broad. It can go against, I'm a communication major. I'm a kinesiology major. I'm a sports management major. It'll apply to everything. No. Nope. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you how goofy that sounds. I'll try to use a sports reference, like whatever sport you play. Let's say, because I always pick on basketball because I play basketball. Let's try a different sport. Let's say you're a tight end in football. Roll with me. I'm just thinking about this as I'm going. So this may sound wild, but let's say you're a tight end and you're supposed to be practicing different things. Now, a tight end, I can't even speak football like this fluently, like I can with basketball. But a tight end has a specific role they do offense with football, right? But let's just say when coach said go to practice and practice on things that's going to help you in the game, he sees you kicking field goals. And your mindset, you're like, well, kicking field goals, it applies to everything. That's going to help me in the game because I'm working on hand and eye coordination, time and space. You get the idea. Your coach is going to look at you like you're a freaking moron. Okay? You're going to look at you like you're crazy. Because you need to be in there practicing things that's actually going to help you in the game, things you're going to be doing in the game. And I would say the same thing as far as your doggone degree. Don't fall into the mentality of, I'm just going to go out there and just pick something that's general. Don't pick anything that's general. That's the biggest lie told to all students, not just student athletes, is to pick something general. Don't pick anything general. Pick something you know exactly how you're going to use it. Exactly how you want to use it. Okay? That's number one.
Most athletes are not fucking prepared.
And he didn't lie when he said most athletes aren't prepared, because here's the thing. It's going to be on you to prepare yourself. A lot of times we look at coaches as being that father figure, mother figure, and all this to do all these things. They're not that. Coaches are businessmen and women that happen to have a whistle around their neck, okay, until proven otherwise. Do they have the potential of being a father figure or mother figure? Absolutely. But if you're going in there with this mentality, they're going to care for you like a doggone son or a daughter, you're putting yourself at a great disadvantage, because that's not their job. That's not on their job description. And I know that they like to show this kind of stuff on One Shining Moment during the doggone March Madness, or they like to show this kind of stuff in Hallmark and Lifetime movies. I know that sounds good and it looks good in cinema, but that's not the case. Could they be? Yes. It's for the same reason when I tell y'all, when y'all get roommates and you have it in your mind, this person's going to be your bridesmaid or best man at your wedding. Could it happen? Absolutely. But is that their job? Absolutely not. It's their job to stay on their side of the room, to not eat your food, to not have people sitting on your bed, to not be messy, to not be a slob, to make sure they lock the door behind. That's their job. That is their job. Make sure they lock the door behind them so your stuff don't get stolen. That's their job. Their job is not to be your bridesmaid or your doggone maid of honor or whatever. Could it happen? Sure. But you only can tell, whether it be your roommate or whether it be your coach, you can only tell by looking through your rear view and not your windshield. Meaning, once time has transpired and you look back, you're like, oh, that person did look out for me. Oh, that person was looking out for me. That's when you can do that. But if you walk in your windshield thinking, oh, this is how it's going to happen, then you're going to be disappointed, because not all coaches are going to do that. And that don't mean they're bad coaches. Not all roommates are going to be a part of your wedding. And that don't mean they're a bad roommate. So what I'm saying is you have got to have ownership over that and being your process, because it's your job. It's your job. Some coaches don't care about your grades. As long as you make the minimum, they're cool. They're rocking with it. Because, and let me take up for coaches. They got so many doggone players to look after, and then they're recruiting simultaneously. They're recruiting for the next season as well. They may not have time for that. So I'm telling you that don't take it they always tell you don't take the easy way out when it comes to your sport. You got to have that same mentality about your academics. You got to make sure that you're networking with individuals. I tell y'all this all the time. If the only thing these jokers can say about you once you leave your university is something about your sport, you lost. If that's the best thing they can say about you is, well, he could hit a home run. He could hit some home runs, then you lost, dude. And you want to be able to spread yourself across where you can connect with people that don't care about sports. Y'all know how I am about the whole NARP situation. Non-athletic regular people. I'll chop somebody in the throat for saying that in my face. Okay? I will chop them in the throat because you're selling yourself short. You are selling yourself short if you fall into this NARP deal, because guess what? Once you graduate college, guess what you're going to become? A NARP. Guess who you're going to be working with? NARPs. Guess who's going to your doggone games? NARPs. Right? So this whole idea that I can't connect with these people, you're selling yourself short. You want to make sure you network with people, because I'll end with this, because I can talk all day about this, but I'll end with this. If you think your GPA is going to get you a job afterwards, you're sadly mistaken. It may possibly get you an entry-level position, but you know more of a guaranteed way of getting a job and getting a career into your field? Having the right relationships, networking, knowing people. And sometimes those people aren't at the field house. They're not in the gym. They're not in the weight room. Okay? They don't have anything to do with sports. They don't even care about sports. And you need to know how to connect with those people. So with this one, I'm going to say he's right. We're going to give it a stamp of he's right. Okay? So I hope this commentary really offered some context of how you can navigate as far as being a student athlete. If you are not a student athlete, make sure you send this to them and help them along the way, because the toughest thing about being a student athlete is knowing who to listen to. I'm not here to appease you. I'm here to equip you. So I hope this video was successful in doing that.